Welcome to the April 2nd bhyve production user call. We have Ed, Jan, Alice, Dan, Andrew, Katya, Patrick, and Alexia and myself so far. And Alexia, you've been busy with EDK2. What do you have to report?
Yeah, the update of the port, I guess, is done. I've done a lot of things.
Do tell.
The only thing left is to submit a patch.
Okay, what have you worked on?
I split off the EDK2 tools into a separate package. So we have now user space. We have EFI ROM, F- FMMT, and all the other EDK2 utilities just as a package, which is great. We can actually do stuff with EFI files and PCI ROMs. Without downloading the EDK2 Git repo and compiling it manually. We can just download a package now. Also, uh, because of that package, we don't need to compile base tools 15 times when compiling EDK2.
Wow. Okay.
So for each EDK2 flavor, and we now have EDK2 Legacy, the older version that works with Windows 7, and
Mhm.
EDK2, the current one, which does not work with Windows 7 because they, for some reason, broke the loading of their EFI files. Each flavor of those versions, so bhyve, QEMU, QEMU 86, Zen, all the ARM platforms, each one of them needs to compile its separate base tools package.
Interesting.
Well, needed to, now it doesn't need to. I also added support for LVM for building the newer EZK2 package. EZK2 Legacy, it kind of builds with LVM, but some of the ARM platforms need a lot of patches. I made Macchiato bin compile with LVM, but I don't want to mess with this anymore. I just want to have it stable enough, so GCC it is.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Exciting. And are you having good support on getting the port updated?
Uh, I did not submit a patch for now,
Mhm.
but I am going to do it like pretty much today. I
Got
have
it.
everything done
Well,
already.
do include testing information, but it sounds like you've made the build
Yes,
process
we do need to
significantly
test it. I
easier.
really want to test it before submitting it. We
Okay.
need a Raspberry Pi, preferably a Macchiato board, but it should work fine. So Raspberry Pis 3 and 4. I already tested in QEMU and bhyve. It
Hmm.
works. I'm currently running my bhyve version with shit on that. And
Nice.
yeah, that's pretty much it. Zen. Yeah, I do not know how to start Zen properly. Don't have any experience of that. If somebody here knows how to do Zen, so I don't
With a
know.
FreeBSD host?
Yeah, FreeBSD or anything host, just a custom EFI file that you gift with.
Interesting. Yes, I do have a little ancient Zen configuration thing in my repo, so we can talk about that separately. Any questions for Alexei? Ed, some of this is right up your alley. Although perhaps you've been called away.
No,
Cool. Good to
I'm here,
hear.
but
Sweet.
yeah, I don't have any questions. I am very happy to I will be very happy to see it in a package.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's been
Jan
the
has some link suggestions.
oh, yes, please.
So there used to be some documentation in the wiki, and we have supposedly working section in the handbook. Um,
Excellent.
but why bother these days? Why would you? I get that people are still using it because they set it up before bhyve was ready, but
Hmm.
these days,
Roger's put a lot of
then
work into it
is
over the years. It's just never gotten the attention that it perhaps deserves. And I met up with him in August in Spain, and he's working away, and it's getting into automotive. So it's not one that it should either be all in or removed. But yeah, let's give it some love before any dramatic changes. Go ahead. Just saying. And in my tools, I've been generating simple Zen boot
hello.
scripts just because it's easy to do. Uh, Hello. I'm looking at the list. Hey, Zim, welcome. Uh, welcome. Above all, and congratulations. We're having a bit of a Sylve party here.
Oh, nice.
Congratulations. Round of applause for getting that. Oh, are we at 1.0 or are we just at a port? How will you characterize that?
I kind of released it at 0.1
Sweet.
because I
Okay.
still have a lot of features to push. So I figured we'll start at 0.1 and reach 1.0 when we reach there.
Got it. Fantastic. So that said, anything else, Alexei, or should we move on?
Should I change the current maintainer of EDK2 from uboot at freeBSD.org to my email?
If you're in it for the long haul, that sounds good. But Ed, perhaps you can advise, and others who commit.
So
Daniel, welcome.
the normal policy is that hostile takeovers need extraordinary reasons. So if that is
Okay.
still an active maintainer, then you can ask, but not really force them to release a port to you.
Okay.
If it's a
I'm going
placeholder
to just
like on Team or whatever, then okay, if it's
uboot
just
at
ports at
freeBSD.org is
FreeBSD.org, then
a
it's an
placeholder,
abandoned
I
port.
believe.
I'd say just email politely asking if they'd be interested in you taking over that, is my read on the
I'm
situation.
going to leave it as it is for now then.
Cool. So let's talk Sylve, and you just mentioned forums a minute ago. Hey, Patrick, what was that about forums? You have a proposal, and what do you envision?
Multiple users, among them myself, suggested that a forum would be a better platform to discuss issues and help people who discover Sylve new and everything, and keep knowledge in a searchable, search engine friendly way, publish how-tos and fundamental articles and stuff, move over probably all the good things we had on the old TrueNAS forum, like don't you use a RAID controller or hardware RAID with ZFS? Is ECC mandatory or not, etc., etc. All of these topics equally apply to Sylve, and I like to have them in a central place. And while Hazem was not particularly enthusiastic about it, not that's not even into the slightest ironic. He seems not to be much of a forum guy, are you, Hazem? But I definitely am, and so he said, "All right, for all the older guys who prefer a classic forum, go ahead and do it." So that's my plan for the Easter holiday weekend that we have in Germany.
Is that a new forum or an extension of the FreeBSD forums, which I suppose
No,
had
no,
a
that
hiccup
will be
recently?
a new forum, forum.sylve.io. I'll use Simple Machines, which is an open source forum software that, in my experience, is a bit better than PHPBB. And that's that. My general plan, I have not made a list of subforums that I'm going to create instantly. I'll just go with the flow and create a couple of them and then discuss with people after I have something to actually show. And as we start out, I will definitely lock down registration and have every new user registration approved by a moderator to keep the spam at bay, from which, e.g., the OpenSense forum suffers severely.
And you had a question for the foundation, perhaps?
Yeah, it's we need to have some legal entity running this thing, and I was wondering if the foundation would be willing to step in and delegate moderation to me and a couple of people I would uh, recruit on the Discord for the beginning. What do you think about that, Ed? Would that be a possibility?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because it's a very timely question. Not for the foundation per se, but for the project with the forums.freebsd.org defacement recently, right? There's
Very timely.
there is a an inherent kind of friction between a site that is that is in appearance a FreeBSD project entity of some sort, and one for which there's no authority towards the core team. So I mean, I think to the extent that like we need someone to say, yes, the FreeBSD trademark is allowed to be used in this context, and we're happy to have this this happen. I don't imagine that is at all an issue. I mean, I think essentially what we're talking about here is like forums.sylve.io,
Yep.
and you moderate it, and the foundation just say, yes, this is cool. We're happy with this, and I think I don't see a problem with that. I think, yeah,
I will put the Sylve trademark and the Sylve logo as far as it exists yet. The Sylve design on it for a beginning. There's a little bit of artwork that Hazem did for the website.
Yeah.
So we have a good starting point. That's all cool. It will run on FreeBSD, and I'm perfectly capable of operating such a thing with timely updates and keeping it secure, so it won't suffer from a defacement.
So if it's under its own domain or the Sylve domain, then I don't see a technical exposure of a problem. Or if it gets compromised, the domain reputation of freebsd.org is at risk.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I don't.
you don't need a special permission to use a trademark to reference the product.
Yeah, I don't see how FreeBSD has anything to do with anything here. I mean, if you're just saying
One at a time, if you
FreeBSD for
can.
the purpose of linking back to FreeBSD as what it runs on, it has nothing really to do with FreeBSD per se.
Okay, so to get it to the point, to which legal brick and mortar address are people supposed to send a DMCA takedown notice?
Per EU or German law?
My personal home address, please no.
Defna?
I mean, I would.
Not gonna happen, Jan. You got to have an imprint with a responsible legal entity in the European Union with anything you publish on the web.
You pretty much need an entity like that in the US as well. That's not just the EU. And I would make the address something like legal@sylve.io. I mean, it's for legal inquiries.
No, I'm interrupting.
Physical address, yeah, that's a little more interesting. But email address,
email is enough. You're right. A reliable way to contact whoever is responsible.
Got it. So, Patrick, just to confirm, a formal contact address is all that's required.
In my
jurisdiction
opinion, yes. and of course, we need to name who belongs to this, a legal entity. I don't know what that's called in English. Juristische Person, some registered thing, a company, a not-for-profit organization, anything.
I mean, the easy answer,
or a person, of course.
Okay.
I mean, yes, the easy answer is to hook up with one of the major, like, floss groups. So that's certainly a good option.
I think we've gone full circle to foundation, and of which Ed is quite involved. Well, cool.
But it doesn't necessarily have to be the FreeBSD Foundation. I mean, if you wanted to talk to guys at SFC or whatever.
Okay, duly noted. Let's take that conversation offline to cover it individually. But it does remind me that someone reached out about use of the bhyve logo late last year. So it's in a similar boat where I'd argue I'd say it's about to say it's part of FreeBSD, but it's also in Lumo. So it's a conversation to have. Patrick, having gotten through the nitty-gritty of forums, have you seen this post? And hopefully it's the beginning of many more like it.
Yes, I have, and I am starting with my own journey.
Okay.
I must admit, I'm not running my productive VM workloads on bhyve or FreeBSD at the moment. I have a TrueNAS CE Linux KVM based thing for that, most of all because it runs Windows 11 better than TrueNAS Core. But the next step is updating or changing my TrueNAS core machine to Sylve and playing FreeBSD 15 package base, and then get all the jails back into a running state, and then think about where to put the VM workloads.
Since you brought it up,
Yes.
do we have any idea of why KVM is running that particular workload better? And what can we do about it?
Well, you're under TrueNAS core, correct, Patrick?
KVM is running better than bhyve in the state of TrueNAS core FreeBSD 13.3.
Ah,
And I like a product with a UI and monitoring stuff and management and things to run my productive environments, not just a plain FreeBSD and some Ansible code.
Just to chime in there,
please.
I think drawing a comparison between like previously 13 and KVM would be a service to bhyve at this point, because I personally right now I use this Windows 11 VM pretty like really heavily. I like run Photoshop on it. So I will pass through with NVIDIA pass through, and I actually shifted from using a very beefy KVM instance, and this was kind of like my end goal for my personal desktop, where I want to run Photoshop inside the Windows 11 or 10 MPSC pretty smoothly. And it's very sad that the patches required for Windows 11 to work with SMP is only in stable and current. I think the next release of 15.1 should take care of it, but I'm not sure. But it's been okay for a while on current, and it's been okay for a little while on stable. So I think that should sort most of your issues. But then on bhyve, there are still things where it wouldn't work as well as KVM. For instance, I think nested virtualization is one of them. I know it's kind of like a useless thing for most users, but there are some production workloads where they kind of run GitHub Actions or the GitLab CI, where they build like Android applications, and they kind of assume that nested virtualization exists. Otherwise, they fall back to QEMU, and that is horrible because ARM64 workloads or even older ARM CPUs are like really slow to emulate, even on very large machines. So that's one place. But I think nested virtualization is a long way out, because we have it at where it is right now is kind of not built for it. And I kind of understand as well, because not many people need it. So if you don't use nested virtualization or I think like heavy pass-throughs with AMD GPUs, as far as I can see, or Intel GPUs, which most people aren't. They for AI workloads even they kind of default to NVIDIA these days, and NVIDIA works great with bhyve and virtualization in general. So I think it's in like a semi-production state, at least on stable and current.
Having used it for over a year in production, well, it's suitable for several workloads, and let's work on those rough edges for other workloads. And Alexei, while we have you, do you have any GPU pass-through news that you had put some fantastic effort into this?
No, I
now
was
shifted
working
to-
all this
Yes,
time
please.
just for EZK2.
Yep, fair enough. And I hope you can ping pong back to
Yeah,
GPU
I'm going to go
pass-through, and
back
I'm
to
happy to
GPU
help with that.
pass-through because I want to get my Intel Arc working in Windows and not on
Aha.
just Linux I was working before. So that is going to be fun.
Cool.
Not.
Fantastic. So yeah, it's a journey, not a destination, but we are making great progress on that journey.
Yeah.
Other Sylve questions, news, ideas, strategies, because thank you so much for that documentation that came up before you joined. And Patrick had a story about how TrueNAS users are blown away by what was suddenly, oh, this kind of broken beta thing, to, whoa, look at the use cases, and be it Rocky, be it Jellyfin, be it all those things. And speaking of such applications, the Damonless author that came up on the Jails call will hopefully join the Jails call next Tuesday. So that project has just landed and is getting quite a bit of excitement in parallel to Sylve. It is an OCI container based jail manager with S6 supervision, et cetera, et cetera. So let's see. That's exciting. Great work, everyone. Please, if you're listening, give Sylve a try via package and report, and hopefully we'll have a forum where to report. And on the high level of happy news, are you still on? Dan, would you like to tell your story about how bhyve saved the day?
What?
Have an update from Justin.
Oh,
Tomorrow
you're
they are
got some
only allowed
background.
to rework on the
I'm
tower.
going to mute you, Andrew. Boom. Mr. Langell.
So a while back, I started getting fallout for a Nagios check that comes in with the Bacula packages. And I posted to the Bacula developers mailing list, and it was pointed out that one of the pieces of code in check Bacula needed to include another .h file. And it should have been doing this anyway. And they also said that it came about because FreeBSD 16 went to ncurses 6.6 or something like that. And the person who said this also said that this is going to affect other operating systems as well. And the problem I have in order to test this is I don't have any FreeBSD 16 systems at home. I have only FreeBSD 15. So I looked around on the FreeBSD project to find a host, and I did, and I could use it. The problem was that host is not designed to allow me to install a whole bunch of packages, and rightly so. So then someone had the bright idea, not me, to install a VM. And I said, well, how hard could that be? I've already created bhyve VMs. And so I went back to my old notes and scoured the internet for other notes. And basically, it was about 6 steps. And I had a FreeBSD 16 box sitting on another box in my basement. And with that, I was able to test the build and get out of the way. And that system is now powered off, but still there should I need another 16 hosts sometime in the future.
And per tradition, you blogged about it.
Very light notes.
Got it.
Basically, I'm using the VM interface.
VM
And
bhyve.
it was very unsure of how to do this, but basically fetch the image. Then there's a VM ISO command, which sort of sucks the ISO command in. And then you do a create, and it creates a VM with that ISO as the running system. And then you console into it, do the install, reboot it. And then it's no longer running the ISO, it's running whatever you installed into the host.
Cool. Well, great. bhyve to the rescue. And Alex, you've just posted a picture of EDK2
A picture of a top.
building away.
Yeah.
Cool.
Lots of compilers.
Yep. Clang, 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 clang. GCC.
GCC Clang.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah, it's two of the flavor. It's two of the legacy and non-legacy package.
Mm-hmm.
I need to test if each one of them builds correctly right now.
Fantastic. So, going down the list, Daniel B., do you have any questions for the group?
No, but I'm loving what I'm hearing.
And Hazem, did Zelta make it into a formal backup mechanism within Sylve?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
definitely.
yeah. Okay.
It's been great.
Fantastic. Gosh. Well, as always, I'm not sure if my work here is done or just beginning. Well, moving forward, I don't think I've proposed a bhyve to BSD can, but that was quite fun in Zagreb. I don't know. This is a fantastic milestone. This is just epic. I'm
I hope
impressed, and it's come
I hope
together.
we'll have a bhyve in Brussels later in autumn.
Okay,
What do you
that's
think about it?
no objection as long as fuel prices are sane. That's all above my pay grade and concerning as an event organizer.
Okay, but what I've heard is that because the fuel prices went up, since all of the AI data centers are powered by oil, AI might crash a little bit, maybe.
Well, it's already crashing.
Yeah, it's already crashing a
Hold
tiny
that
bit.
thought for the AI call, but yes, there's a lot going on. And what concerns me more just pragmatically are the component costs. And in fact, things like Zelta and Sylve and all help you make the most of the hardware you have with enterprise file systems under a specific one under the hood. And I think collectively we have the tools that are needed such that Go Team help your communities and the AI call, yeah. As best you can. So it's your call. Katya, Alice, others, I would love to know at this, looking forward from this crossroads, what needs attention? Where do we need to focus on just keeping this momentum up and say providing meaningful alternatives to projects like VMware that have gone their own weird way. Sorry, projects is definitely not the right word for that. Product instead of services. I'm all ears and I'm happy to continue to facilitate talks like this.
Hi, Jan asked if I wanted to talk about the PF integration.
Say that
I think I
again?
had a really cool demo about the PF integration.
Oh, yes. Yes, of course. We discussed it briefly before you joined. Do tell what you've got
Yeah.
going on regarding PF.
I think I could. Can I share my screen?
Yes, please. I will stop.
The share screen button doesn't show up until the window is big enough.
Oh.
Okay.
There's
Is it good
something.
now?
Yes,
There we go.
sir. Yes, please.
Okay. So I've been working on like PF for a while now, like mostly writing my own PF rules, but I kind of got bored of it. So I built this quick little GUI on top of PF. So just a little bit of a backstory to this. When I was coming into this, um, I only had experiences with PF either on the CLI or OpenSense, and I always had this notion that it's like not as fast as NF tables, which is certainly an opinion. But lately I've been playing around with it, and I have to say like the OpenSense implementation is just slow to the point where it makes it look like the entire system is slow for me. And I'm very happy to note that it is so much faster than I thought it was. And I have a few rules here that I've made, and I support basic traffic rules as well as kind of OpenSense as objects. So I have this really large object here for blocking all sorts of malicious kind of traffic, and it has like what 100,000 entries, and they just work. And I also implemented like NAT rules so that you can have masquerading for your VMs or Rails or whatever, because those are kind of the two things I really wanted from what I was configuring with on the CLI anyway. And logging as well, I've implemented with like simple PFCTL stuff, and they're really fast because Go takes care of most of the stuff for me. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for my integration thing. And since we kind of started off with objects right from the start, objects in the sense like all addresses, all MAC addresses, all subnets, or everything is kind of an object. So since you already have all those things, you can just pick them here. And even lists, they auto update like every 1 minute or so. So even if you have like, let's say for instance, let's make a new object. Let's make a list. So you can give in your .text file or wherever they give you a list of IP addresses or FQDNs. You can just kind of specify that here, and it will pull that in. Every now and then you can see that this domain has been resolved at this time, which was like 5 minutes ago, and then this huge list as well, and it kind of updates in the background in a different Go routine. And then all the firewall rules that are depending on those lists also get kind of reloaded. So they always have nicely fresh lists. And yeah, it's been fun. I think I'll be able to push this in the next release because it's really not that much, not as big as I had imagined. And Jan helped a lot with the, kind of different questions I have. So I'm very happy with this. Like, any questions or anything?
I have two questions. One is, does this mean you have, for example, a GeoIP blocking list that you're pulling in from somewhere?
Yes. No, I'm not pulling it from anywhere. Like,
Okay.
this thing is kind of pre-populated with URLs, like for ease of use, but they don't, like necessarily mean that people have to use them. So these are kind of like templates, and if you don't want it, you don't have to use it. And for instance, Cloudflare IPs. So what happens is when you click on Cloudflare IPs, it uses the official Cloudflare IP lists. So just convenience.
Oh, did you mean to stop your share?
Oh no, I didn't.
Oh, okay, never mind.
I
And
think
second question while you re-rig that.
Is on?
Yeah.
Maybe something to watch out for with block lists. It would be nice if you're fetching them over HTTP, if you supported ETAG and if modified SYNs.
Yes,
so that you could
really
just
don't
pull
want
them
to
repeatedly.
depend on, I didn't want to depend on ETAG. So what I do is, since these lists are not that big, what I do is I pull them once and then I store a hash of that list into my DB. And then the next time I pull them in, I compare it with that hash. And then if they match, I just don't do anything. If they don't match, I update my entire DB, my entire lists of DB, and then kind of apply that to PF as well. So it has like a hot path which it goes through easily, and then there's like a very very slow path. I mean, it's still fast. It's like a few hundred milliseconds, but still, you don't have to do any kind of compute if the lists are already the same, right? So I initially thought of doing header stuff, but I kind of don't trust web servers to do that correctly. So this is it, and it's not that much bandwidth anyway. So the large list that I was talking about was like what I think a few megabytes, and I pull that in every few minutes or so, and that is even not necessary because they get updated like once per day maybe. So I probably make that configurable so users can pick, okay, this list gets updated every few minutes. This one doesn't get updated for a few days, so things like that.
Okay, my other question is, does that remove one of your dependencies? I think it was DNS mask or something.
It's not. It's actually a transitive dependency. So no matter what we do, libvirt is gonna pull that in.
Oh, libvirt pulls that
And
in.
I kind
Okay.
yeah. So since it's already there, I use it for my DHCP server.
Got it.
So now what you have is you can configure a VM, give it an address either using static addressing or you can use the DHCP that is built in. And now after this release, you will have like a PF integration where you can masquerade addresses. So for instance, this jail here, let's go in and Google. So what's happening is it's having an address that is given by the DHCP server, and then it uses PF to use NAT to go outside. And this was one of my requirements for these small instances I have on Hexna, where we kind of had this very hacky way of pulling in Cloudflare, because we only allow either Cloudflare or some other WAF IPs into our network, into our systems. So we just needed exactly what I just built. We wanted to specify a small list. We wanted to set up a rule based on that list. So what I would do is I'll pass a direction is in. We usually just allow TCP and UDP, and then pass an ingress interface, pass a source, and that's it. So this is pretty much it in that regard. And we can just create that rule, and it goes here. We can see some level of metrics, how many hits it got, all that kind of stuff. And I also baked in the quick directive. So like it passes. I mean, it won't go to the next rules. It just passes there. That makes it much faster and easier to manage. So yeah, and logging as well, like it's not enabled by default. You can pick per rule. So for instance, here I have this rule for traffic that I log, and there is this NAT rule, which is denatting to this jail here. So when I do this request, what happens is, let's keep the line log again. So what happens is, since we have logging enabled for that, it stores in like a memory DB, and then it pushes from the backend. So that's that. So it's kind of all integrated now. Instead of you having to do PF inside like a file or something. And then if you don't like our implementation, you can just always go here and then put in your rules and then have fun with it.
Wow. Could that serve as a quick and dirty firewall for those who need to just spin something up?
Yeah. That's the whole point.
Well, without jails, without VMs, without other.
Yeah, they can do that as well.
Oh, heavens.
Because it really doesn't depend on all these subsystems are kind of what do you say, like in different worlds. So jails don't really know about PF, and then PF don't know about jails. They just don't talk to each other, but they work together like when needed.
Nice.
So it's like that. Yeah. It's like
Quote you on
a
that.
user of ours recently wrote a deployment guide on our website for having this ZFS dataset, which they pass in to their Jellyfin instance. That was kind of cool to see. So that they have a lot of stacks that depend on this one single dataset. And then when they shared that through, they can use that single dataset in all those jails, which was nice. Because usually what they would do is on Proxmox, they would make a Samba share and then use that Samba share to connect, from LXCs or VMs, and it is just always a pain. But this is pretty cool.
Your share disappeared again. I am so impressed that you understand what's a good word for this, the use cases and the full scenario and the full sort of ecosystem of it rather than just one component. That's what's so unique about what you're doing. Go ahead, Jan.
I think what helped the average user a lot is if it tied into the virtual machine provisioning and jail provisioning, so that you had the opportunity to expose certain services, and you could create entities for port ranges, so that you can easily do it if you have several similar virtual machines. And for the advanced use case where you actually want your own rules, it would be nice if you could get macros predefined with a name. You just see that on top, the macros you can use so that you don't have to repeat your IP address information. Because otherwise it's very fragile if your rules aren't updated when you update the IP addresses in the web
Actually,
UI.
there are macros. That's how I use it right now. For instance, if you make an object here and then you reference that object somewhere in the firewall chain, it creates a table with all the stuff that you need. But I wouldn't really want users to use that because one, since these names can take pretty much any shape, because I don't want to kind of constrain users into using their own names. They can put in emojis in there. It doesn't really matter. So I kind of have to have a deterministic identifier, right? So I use DBID because they are only implementing, they're perfect for this use case. So let me just see if am I blocked? Okay. So we can see that there's an objects table here, and there are, you can see there's a whole bunch of stuff here, right? So you can use this macro to kind of use it inside those configs, but it kind of gets messy. And
But
this is the large lists I was talking about with all those
but
different IPs.
tables aren't macros.
Mm-hmm.
Tables are their own data type.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the tables, yes, but especially for things like Postgres, as you could, at least for IP addresses in almost every context, use a table. Would be slightly slower, but not much for small sets. For big
Yeah,
sets,
that's
tables are
kind of what
better.
I went with here, because you can see that some of these sets are really, really small and some of these sets are really, really large. So this was kind of like a compromise that I made. And yeah, and my main PF font looks like this. So yeah. And what is on the old aspect? Okay. Oh yeah, macros. So I'm not sure where I am with macros, because out of band management for stuff like this always becomes a pain, especially since that, this naming convention, right? It always bites us. And um, I kind of don't want to change it here. But if I don't change it here, like, we can't use it there. So it's like a balance.
It has to be some
So
ID in the name. You
yeah.
can't kind of, I guess you could just try something like replace every character which is not in the allowed set of characters with an underscore and require that
Mm-hmm.
mapping to be unique, but then it wouldn't be a stable name.
Yes, because imagine now
Instead,
use
just
like one kind of emoji like in multiple sets, and that's the only differentiating factor. What happens is when you convert all those into undercase or underscores, all those rules have the same name then, right? Like if I name this like photo Olan dash star, then I do the same thing with an exclamation point. So what happens is both those rules get converted into the same name after the cleanup, right? So
that's why I said you would require that name be unique. So that it would just be an error to create such a name. But the alternative is to just give them an ugly name, which is type and that is Sylve type and then the non-reused identifier, just the number. So, but if you up what is more important than having a pretty name to me is that it is a name which stays correct if I change the value. So if I change an IP address for a jail, I want my custom rules to be updated through the macro so that I can reliably
Yeah,
reference
that
an
stays. That stays
entity
because
from the
we kind of
configuration.
need that for traffic rules anyway. We can't really go change these IDs over and over again, right? Like if you edit it in place, it doesn't change the DB ID. It just updates the record in SQLite. So I think that'll be fine. It's just that this whole naming thing may be a little bit of a pain, but if I expose the IDs here, then it becomes much easier to for them to load in the rules here. So I think that'll be fine.
Maybe give the user something, a little button or a little drop-down menu to get it, reference something by the nice name and have it just insert the ugly name into the text input field at the cursor position, so that you can kind of pick the entity and then get the macro reference with a dollar in front inserted.
That kind
That
of
would be
begs the
the
question, like, I wonder, like, what the extent to which people would use this is, because I I don't want to spend way too much time on this and kind of figure out later that people are going to use OpenSense VM or OpenWRT or whatever it is. Because until now, what I did was I ran this small little OpenWRT box, I mean a VM, inside like a VM, and then use that for all my firewalling needs. So I kind of built that around, okay, I just need some level of natting, some level of NAT6, some level of logging, some level of traffic rules, some level of all these very, very, very basic levels of things, right? So there's this market dynamic here where I'm like, okay, we don't want to spend way too much time building this, and then people don't use it, and I don't want to spend way less time on it where it's broken. So there is a sweet spot where I'm in right now, where I think it's marginally useful for some. It's very useful for me, but I don't think it's useful for a lot of people. So yeah,
Well,
that's kind of where I'm at.
What I
oh,
And
foresee
if they
as the
don't find
use
this
case,
useful at all, they can just go here and kind of disable it entirely, so they can do all their management on their own. So that's that.
well, there will always be
Yeah.
advanced users, but we do have a pretty great survey of production users on the call, from Patrick to Daniel to Dan, who probably have that virtualization box, that network device. I mean, do we have feedback available on, where to draw that line? Because yeah, clearly you don't want to be a full-featured router replacement. However, the following on a 2080 rule, what do most people do and need, and ignore the exotic features? So I don't know. Patrick, any thoughts?
I think
Daniel, any thoughts?
something, yeah, I mean, something unique about this project is it's basically running on clean FreeBSD. So it doesn't necessarily have to be everything. You know what I mean? Like if it can solve the edge problem or the pop, the single pop problem, and the data center problem, then that's great. I think an 80% functional uh, firewall. I mean, there's like I was watching and I was like, okay, well, I'd add these 6 features, but you don't really like if he added like dummy net and like a bunch of other features, that would be terrific. But we could just do that. Like we don't
There's
have
nothing
to.
precluding it, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Like we can still do all the network management with Sylve, and then if we need to have those enhanced features, we're not losing anything. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, yeah, sure. I think it would be great to like add a million features, but we can do that with VMs and jails to a large degree, and then there's nothing stopping us from using our other favorite tools in addition to it. So I feel like that's the biggest problem for me with adoption of these types of management tools, is that it stops me from running my FreeBSD software,
It's the
and this
handcuffing,
doesn't.
yes, and that's what certain
Yeah,
appliances have done painfully over the years. So yes, please do not preclude doing the right thing on the host if you know what you're doing. And Jan, you have your hand up on that comment and have made it come
yeah.
here.
So
Yes.
it shouldn't try to be OpenSense or pfSense, of course. That's totally scope creep. But what would be nice if you didn't have to always go for the additional virtual router or firewall appliance, because there is a lot of overhead to kind of go into one virtual machine, go out of it again, and then go into the actual virtual machine or jail you're hosting your content on. And instead, mostly make it so that you can whitelist specific port ranges and so on for want to allow to talk through. It would be nice kind of to if you could run Slyvie on a rented server without a firewall in front of it.
right. Yeah, that's
Oh,
what I meant by
yes.
pops. Yeah,
Yeah,
like I would I
I
would love
think
to.
that's kind of where I am at as well, because that is my absolute primary use case. I really don't want an edge firewall because, as Jan said, they are really, really, really redundant, and all these little machines have to go to this other little machines go outside. I really don't like that. Since we already have PF right there on the server, why not just use it? So yeah, I get that. And
Fantastic.
as far as like use cases go, like I'm happy, to see, because I was talking with Daniel and he mentioned TORP, and I realized that that's awesome to have, especially like in high availability use cases. That's awesome. So I'll probably integrate that, and then I love source snatching because it makes sense, and then binats because you can assign a IP to a VM and then just forget about it, and then let the VM do what it wants. So things like that is awesome, and I would use it. I never push products that I personally don't use. So
Nice.
that's like a huge thing for me. So when that's why I think our products or the project at least has been where it is right now. Because if you look at our GitHub issues, we have like 4 different issues now, and none of those are related to us. So that's kind of cool to see. And dog fooding is a very big part of that. So yeah, and scope creep. I don't think there will be scope creep until now, but you never know.
Well, your tiny team is doing an amazing work effort so far. So heaven forbid you had a few more people working on that in the community. So no, this is exciting.
I'd like to add one point
Yes,
for
please.
people who are possibly not aware with what the product can, all the product can do at the moment, which is nothing but amazing. I see the value of integrated NAT and a little bit of routing and filtering for people who want to run their jails behind a NAT, behind a single IP address of the host, etc. So definitely thumbs up for that. Personally, I don't use any of that. I don't install the NS mask. I don't need PF on my NAS hyper-converged whatever host because I'm a network engineer and I have network infrastructure in place. And you can already with Sylve just configure all your bridges and VLANs and everything the traditional way. Roll it out via Ansible or do it manually. That's what I do. So all my hosts, my TrueNAS hosts, my OpenSense, they are all connected to my central switch via LACP, LAC ports, redundant ports made from two interfaces. And my entire network is VLANs on top of that, just because I can. So it's all VLANs for all internal networks. The only physical network on my OpenSense is the external uplink, and that's that. And you can do that, configure it in FreeBSD, go about VLANs underscore LAC0 in rc.conf and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it will create all those interfaces. And then in Sylve, you can assign a manual switch to your pre-configured professional data center network infrastructure and then use that for VMs and jails and everything, and it just works flawlessly. So if you want to go the traditional route and say, okay, this is a host that serves a certain virtualization function, but I have network infrastructure in place, you're perfect to go right now. And
Of
that's
course.
great. Thank you very much, Hazel. That's fantastic. To have the choice
Yeah, just to add
how you want
add
to
to
go
the
about
point there.
networking.
Yeah, just to add to that, like when I initially started the project, like I kind of figured like people would have networking stacks, and then I realized pretty quickly that all these users of TrueNAS and all these enhanced solutions or whatever it is, now there's a dime a dozen, and what they need is they just want something that runs their applications, right? They don't care about kind of NAT or the networking stack and pretty much anything that we are throwing at them. So, and funnily enough, most of our users just use, a few VMs, maybe a few jails, maybe, and then they just want not to mess with networking. So this is kind of for them. And even then, I don't think they're going to use these features the way I or you might be using them. So, like, what the next kind of evolution to this is building out, as I shared in Discord a few days back, building out a TrueNAS SQI. Because believe it or not, this is not my favorite UI. It's kind of something that I did with Proxmox users in mind because people really, and Proxmox kind of did it with VMware users in mind. And I think VMware is the OG in the space. So um, I don't want like a home user to kind of sift through this UI. And the reason for why I'm saying this is because I think day before yesterday somebody posted on LinkedIn of all places of them trying to use the UI, and oh my god, it was painful to watch. It was painful to watch. Like I know exactly why they're getting stuck over, and they won't read documentation. It's so funny that they are in the page of the documentation where they have the answer right there, but they would not read it. Like they're trying to download this base image for, I mean, base tarball for a jail, And it says right there, like, click on the extract button, and it's auto-clicked for them. It's just that they're so fast in doing the thing that they don't care. Like, there is, okay, they dropped in the link, and then they just click download. And they're like, where is the J? Why is it not showing up? So it says in the documentation, pick the root FS or base selection there. It's right there. But, I don't know. So I'm kind of polishing my way to reach that kind of a user. And I don't want to, kind of get rid of all the users we already, saw, envisioned. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I have this proposal I'm writing to, the foundation if they accept it. So that's kind of like a TrueNAS-esque UI where we kind of have all these templates, and I would probably go with Daemonless or work with him to kind of get like an array of applications that we can serve to users with auto update and all these pain points that kind of we faced with TrueNAS, whatever, or things like that. So I'm really excited for that because now it's the perfect time because we have Podman, we have Linux compatibility that works extremely well, and we can just use that to build our stuff. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at and what I'm planning to do. So this firewall and I think WireGuard implementation right now that I'm working on will probably come in the next release, and then from there on out it'll just be polishing stuff. I have, I think, around 30% test coverage, which is not great, but it's something. It's better
30%
than
what? Oh,
Proxmox.
test
Proxmox
coverage?
has, yeah,
Not
Proxmox
great.
has 0%, so we are better than that. So end-to-end testing is something that's very important to me.
Nice.
Yeah, but it's really, really difficult to test an appliance like this because so many moving parts. So I have to kind of split everything into smaller and smaller and smaller chunks. And yeah, but it's getting there. So yeah, that's my plan. That's where we are at. Suggestions would be
Fantastic.
nice. People kind of use it and not say anything. I don't like that. It's not nice. They're happy. They're only coming to the Discord or GitHub when there's an issue, which fortunately enough is not much. But I see a lot of people using it on Reddit already. Like on self-hosted, I think I saw a comment where a user was like, "Oh, I was coming in from TrueNAS to FreeBSD, and then I set it up, and it was fun." And like, "Oh wow, this person's actually using it." So
Nice.
it's nice. Yeah.
On the topic of networking, I had one simple idea for you, which is if you do have the built-in firewall, I'd be curious if you could spin up a VM, sniff the ports and traffic it relies on, confirm that those look appropriate, and then build a firewall template based on that and say, okay, well, that's your core functionality, and then, block the rest. But yes, you made a grunt, Jan. Your thoughts?
Yeah, that whole concept is just deeply flawed.
Thank you so much. Then whatever better variation.
You're only going to see the traffic you give it. It would be okay if it says, hey, you're apparently receiving traffic to these UDP and TCP ports, but you have no idea if it's a complete set.
Fair enough. I'm just thinking of those, making it easy for users as you've described.
Okay, on that topic, actually, I want
Please.
to ask, in Linux, there is NFQ, right? That is awesome. And I use it for this, enterprise DPI solution now, which I'm building. Is there something like that on FreeBSD or, any BSD that I can use? Because PF doesn't look like it has one.
What exactly are you looking for?
NFQ, I'll put it in chat.
Yeah, link if you can. And while you do that, welcome user Cloudy. Do you have Q, there we go. Ideas, questions, topics. NFQ, okay.
What you're describing sounds like the divert socket.
Is that
which
canonical?
sadly, as far as I know, FreeBSD still lacks IPv6 support for the divert sockets, but divert sockets is not exactly like what you're looking. It's a way for the firewall to hand a packet to user space and have user space either modify it or just allow the traffic to continue through the firewall. So read the divert man page in section 4 to find out if that's what you're looking for.
It's somewhat, I think. I think I read about this, but it's kind of what do you say, a two-part solution compared to NFQ, where it kind of just passes it there, and then I can make the decision regarding what to do. So yeah, to block these packets, you kind of have to pass it to PF again, right?
You just don't do
Using divert.
anything with them.
Oh, okay.
You just don't give them
So
back.
I can just drop
You
it there.
just drop them. And if
Mhm.
you want the world to be continued, I think you have to do something with ancillary data or something to get the route number, kind of route position to resume. You can also mess with that, but I don't know if that makes sense in the context of PF. I know that it's possible with IPFW.
Mhm.
You have a FreeBSD firewall.
How does Zen Armor work on OpenSense? Like, does anybody know?
What on OpenSense?
Pardon, could you repeat that? I didn't get it.
Zen Armor. This one. I've pasted the link in chat.
Oh, Zen Armor. Yes. Okay. So there's a link
Yeah.
there. Is anyone using Zen Armor? So there's the link.
Nope. It's supported on OpenSense. It's an optional
I'm
third party.
pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure it is.
I don't use it because I don't believe in IDS. Pattern-based IDS are just a pain. It's just wrong concept.
Me too, but this new engine that I've kind of building, and it's really insane. The stuff you can kind of do with it, just based on metadata alone. So I was like, it'll be nice to port it into FreeBSD just to see how it would work. And a lot of these edge instances, for instance, I think schools and other places kind of want to block websites. So this becomes very useful for them. So yeah. And even what Michael just said, like in the context of kind of figuring out where a packet is coming from, this is very powerful because, for instance, on FreeBSD, all the MAC addresses that bridges are assigned, they have a specific, like a prefix, right? So you can look at the prefix and be like, oh, nice, this is coming from this address, which is associated with this MAC address, and be like, oh, this is this VM or this student or whatever it is. Privacy nightmare, but technically a very sound challenge. So yeah, I kind of made it work really, really well with Linux and NFQ because even though the documentation is not great, their implementation is superb, and their whole ecosystem of NetFilter products, it's not that fast, but it is plenty for like a gig or 10 gig network pretty easily. And I run this on like really resource constrained ARM boxes. So yeah, it'll be nice to have on FreeBSD. Like this is a thought.
Well, just keep describing the use case and need as we go forward, and people will probably identify what we can and can't do here and now, and then we explore what's missing. Well,
the use case in Sylve for that is kind of, imagine you can have ad blocking on all your VMs with like one click. That's awesome, right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Which doesn't really work with encrypted traffic unless you have a unique domain or IP address.
Yes, yeah. So what we do is we kind of take the TLS traffic or the quick traffic and then kind of takes metadata out of it. So client hello of TLS has the domain name. So we know if it is trying to reach a domain like the default DOH gateway, so we can block that. And then it falls back to regular DNS, which we can definitely block. So there's a lot of ways to do it. And yeah, it's fun.
Cool.
Yeah, I see the use case, but I prefer less intrusive technologies for that. So I use a lot of DNS-based block lists. I run Edgar at home. And also for ingress, I use dynamic block lists like Q feeds. We used to work with CrowdSec and stuff, because Zen Armor frequently breaks for folks on the OpenSense forum.
Oh, I see.
Every other OpenSense update or so, things break, then they need to fix it, and it really
No,
goes
the
down
funny thing is in
deep into the
OpenSense
network
on
stack to do its pattern matching and block stuff. So I prefer something that just updates a PF block list and dynamically, as I said, QFeeds, CrowdSec come to mind. There are other solutions, and that's way less intrusive from a technology point of view.
Which sounds like the
yeah,
blocking he
definitely.
showed earlier with tables and all that. So anyway, it's like, well, we have that. Okay. Cool. For what it's worth, user Cloudy, you've typed a few things and you are unmuted. Do you want to join in and wrap this up for us? Well, this is all fantastic news. I'm very impressed, and this has been, years, if not decades in the making. So, unless we've got something else, keep up the good work. Please do test all these new tools that are landing. And Hazem, I believe you get the honors today.
Like and subscribe.
Thank you so much. Great work, everyone.
Thank you.